On this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast, we are going to South Louisiana once again, and Mike Cauley is back on the podcast, and we're going to talk about something that I've been wanting to feature on the podcast for a long time, and that is Bulldogs. We're going to talk about pit bulls and the valuable job that they do within the hunting community and what they do for us as hunters. Mike is going to give us some insight into the history and the uses of bulldogs in that country of Louisiana. They're very commonplace and something that was pretty commonly seen around the countryside and in hog hunters' yards and things like that. We can't do this podcast without me addressing something that is kind of touchy and kind of controversial, and I don't know of any other breed of dog that's had so much controversy surrounding it as the American Pit Bull Terrier. And I'm just going to get this out of the way now. I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room right up front. The controversy surrounding and the stigma attached to the American Pit Bull Terrier boils down to one thing, and that's people. This is not a breed of dog for everybody. While they do make excellent household pets and they are extremely social type dogs and they're playful and things like that, they do need boundaries. And that means people have to step in and show this special breed of dogs what those boundaries are. Too often these dogs fall in the hands of people who rescue them from pounds or whatever, and they're an adult dog. They haven't had that proper socialization, and they get themselves in situations over their heads. It's like this. I think it would be really cool to fly an F-16. However, if you put me in the cockpit of an F-16 with no training, no experience, it is going to be a disaster. Regardless of how cool I think it is or all other things considered, I'm just not qualified to do it. The other part of the controversy, I think, centers around the fact that these bulldogs are being asked to do a job that is extremely dangerous. And as hunters, we get labeled as heartless for taking these dogs or putting them in these situations that could get them injured or killed. Mike addresses that in this podcast, and if you hang on till the end, he is going to tell you a story about that exact situation. It's not something that's taken lightly, and we should not misunderstand or misinterpret the relationship that hunters have with their bulldogs. For me, the relationship that I have with bulldogs, including the one we have here, is I see a dog that possesses all of the things that I truly wish that I could master in my own life. A great bulldog displays courage, loyalty. It reacts to dangerous situations without hesitation. It is confident. It is focused. It is bold. Failure is not an option. And yet they can scale that back at the right time. Back at the truck, they're sitting on the tailgate, and all they want is you to come over and scratch their ears, give them a pat on the head, and show them some affection. In the yard, they'll play tug-of-war with your kids. You can throw a ball for them. They'll ride in the front of the truck, and if you don't watch, they'll try to steal a French fry or devour that cheeseburger in a single bite, lick the grease off your face. I celebrate the American Pit Bull Terrier and the Bulldog for what it is meant to be, and that is a warrior to be celebrated. Long live the Bulldog, and long live the men who use the Bulldog for its noble purpose. Mike Cauley and his friends have spent a lifetime perfecting the use of bulldogs. The Old South dog box is rocking, and we got to get a bulldog in there. The bay up is going on. The bulldog knows it. They're keyed up. We got to get the tailgate down. It's time to dump the box.
Yes, ready.
We are ready. And we are in Louisiana. Huh? What is it?
Cajun country.
Cajun country. That's right. That's right. We are back down here. We're doing a Freedom Hunters event this weekend, and I'm glad to have you back on the podcast, Mike.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad you were able to come down and bring some guests with us.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes on What's the scouting report for hogs in Louisiana right now?
Well, this year they're kind of slim. We had Hurricane Ida that came through, and we've had 2 major storms in the last year, more or less, year and a half, and it's kind of washed the hogs to higher ground.
What does that do when that storm surge comes in? Why they move to higher ground?
So they don't have to swim. But 2 things will survive in a hurricane. I am convinced of this 100%. Cockroaches and wild hogs.
Yeah.
They when they survived Katrina, that was just unreal. There were that many hogs right after that surge came through, and it'll be the same. These hogs they're on high ground now, but they'll disperse back into the marsh.
Yeah. And that's the key, is the marshes and the low ground is where we're looking for these hogs. And when the storm surge comes in, then they got to find it, or they, like you said, they got to swim.
Right.
Oh man, well, I'm glad to be back down here. We're gonna have, I think we're hunting in the morning, and we're hunting Saturday, but we're going to talk about bulldogs. Something we've never talked about on this podcast, not in depth anyway. We haven't really talked about it. And I contacted you a couple weeks ago, and I was looking for somebody that could come on the podcast and talk to us about bulldogs and catch dogs and things like that. And as I rode around with you today and got thinking about the last week, I thought, well, I probably ought to just interview Mike about bulldogs.
Well, they've been a way of life for us for 40 years or so. Well, we've even had them as kids. So,
yeah,
they've been around. They've really helped a lot of the ranchers that used to run livestock, free range, just rounding up hogs, cows, whatever. If they had a bad bull that needed catching, they'd bring a bulldog in to catch them. And it's just been a way of life, always having one around. And we've used them ever since I've been hog hunting, to catch, the hogs, because we always caught them alive, tied them up, and either marked them, cut them, or turned them loose, back before there was a stigma of turning hogs loose,
or using bulldogs.
Beg your pardon?
Or using bulldogs.
Right.
The stigma around bulldogs.
Right.
We're talking about American Pit Bull Terriers.
Yeah, for the most part. But,
yeah.
We also had just what people called an old country bulldog that was, a mixed-up dog. Probably had, a lot of American Pit Bull Terrier in them. Mm-hmm. Could have been crossed with American Bulldog, but people just called them bulldogs, But for the most part, I've always used American Pit Bull Terriers.
Yeah. And so with those American Pit Bulls, are your dogs registered?
I've had a couple that were registered, but for the most part, no. They're just dogs we bred up specifically for hog hunting. We want certain traits in them. We want really good-natured dogs with people and other dogs. Most people do prefer a eared dog. Mm-hmm. But I guess that also depends on how bad you need a bulldog. If you need one bad enough, you're not going to care where he catches, as long as he catches. But,
right. Well, let's talk about. Let's break it down and talk about all parts of it, because it's going to be. I want to talk to you about what you look for in bulldogs. I want to talk to you about what you need from a bulldog while you're hunting. Evaluating young. As I watch you work with your bulldogs out here, you got 2 out here that are under a year old right now, and just watching you mess with them. You've been in this game a long time, and so let's just start with, what are some disqualifiers right now for a bulldog for Mike Cauley and hog hunting?
First off would be a mean dog or ill dog with people or other dogs.
Yeah.
That's just something we can't tolerate. They've got one job to do, that's run and catch a hog. Mm-hmm. And, I've seen bulldogs that run in and catch another dog. And, that's definitely what you don't want. The hog will end up breaking and running, and you've got a dog fight on your hands.
Right.
You know, we can't have that.
Have you ever seen a bulldog that when you're trying to get them off of a hog, they're aggressive towards people?
No, not so much towards people, but yeah, some of them have been so hyped up, you know, you just have to get them out of the scene, you know, right away. You know, get them off 20 yards, time off, whatever. But, yeah, I did have a friend that had a bulldog, game bred dog, and they pulled him off the hog he caught, and a guy walked in between him and the hog. Well, the bulldog grabbed him by the leg.
Yeah.
Had him down in a minute. The other guy couldn't get off the hog because it wasn't tied up yet.
Right.
So that guy had to get the dog off his leg by himself.
Wow.
So yeah, something like that happens. But for the most part, most hog hunters don't need a dog that amped up. You know, that game to the death, whatever. It's you know, they just like a calmer natured dog. They've got to have enough grit to just run in and catch, but not where, you know, they don't really know what's going on. They're just so excited. They're going to grab everything.
Yeah.
You know, that would be my main disqualification, you know, for a catch dog.
Well, when you talk about, I think we ought to just go ahead and talk about it. We talked about not talking about it, and then we talked, now you've mentioned it too, but I think we just need to talk about it. I think when most people hear pit bull and then they hear game bred, explain what game bred is, what that term means to people that use bulldogs.
Well, basic game bred are dogs that were bred to fight in the pit. And, you know, there's just a huge stigma about them. And I understand the reasoning for the old-time bulldoggers to have that. They had to test their dogs some kind of way. And I'm not putting a bad name on game-bred dogs. It's just not my cup of tea as far as, you know, wanting one for a catch dog. I like a calmer dog. And that being said, there's plenty of people that use game-bred dogs that are calm, you know, after they catch the hog and all that. You know, you just got to go through the ones you like, the traits you like. And
when you talk about stigma, I mean, I can give a first-hand account of that. The first time that I came down here to hog hunt with you years ago, there was a stigma. I mean, I've not been around bulldogs. Being from a place that doesn't have hog hunting and does not use a pit bull for the intended use, what they're bred for, you know, there was some reservation in my mind about being around them and things like that. And after being around these dogs that people commonly use to hunt with, I mean, I feel just as, we'll talk about etiquette in a minute around a bulldog, but I don't feel any more threatened by a bulldog than I do a hound.
right.
You know, after you're around them. If you've been around them, you've been experienced to them, and you're not being a knucklehead around them, you know, you can.
Right.
There's just certain things that you got to do because they're bulldogs.
Right. And the biggest part is socialization. You know, you got to get them around people when they're young, and, you know, you just can't ignore them and, you know, then expect them to act right or be like friendly type dogs.
You can't keep them in a dark room, beat them with a rubber hose, and feed them gunpowder and expect them to be
right.
Yeah, and I think that's what most people think that people with pit bulls do. And you drive around this country down here and drive to any hunter's house, and they've got a bulldog there.
Right.
And it might be running loose. It might be, you know, interacting with other dogs. And so tell me how you socialize. What's your key to socializing these dogs?
Well, even as young puppies, and we mostly raise our own now, you know, it's gotten really hard to find good bulldogs. You know, 20, 25 years ago, you could find them anywhere. And, you know, you could try 2 or 3, whatever, till you found, you know, a dog you like that met your qualifications. But the last, you know, I'd say 10 years, it's getting very hard to find. And so we started breeding our own, you know, and It's, we breed for certain traits. We like ear dogs. Normally you breed an ear dog to ear dog. 90% of the time you're going to get an ear dog. We like good laid-back dogs, athletic dogs. And
How big a dog do you like?
well, I like a bigger sized dog, 70 to 80 pounds, because we hunt out in the marsh. There's no trees to hide behind, and we like a dog that can just anchor a hog.
Yeah.
And you've been out there, if a hog wanted to charge and drag a dog over to you, he could get you.
Yeah.
So we do like the bigger bulldogs.
You're not going to run away from him out there, I can tell you that.
And, we pretty much have used dogs that can do it all by themselves. A lot of times we do turn two bulldogs loose. Your chances of success go way up. If one happened to miss or something like that, the other one's got him. But it's, just something we've grown up doing, you know. And to me, if they've been properly socialized and all that, like you saw how I let my young bulldog pups, they run through the whole pack of other dogs playing and, and all
Old
that.
Rhino.
Yeah. So it's...
and Dagger's the other one. He was loose yesterday.
Right.
And we were out there in the dog lot, and he was just running. I looked over at him at one time, and he was sitting over there with, between a couple plot hounds and rolling and, just interacting, and it wasn't a big deal. He's just another dog on the place.
Right. And, those two older pups that are running around that are about 4 months old, they go and eat out of his bowl, And I don't know what it is about pups. You feed them their own feed, and they have to run over and try to steal the food from the older dogs, but Dagger doesn't care. He just wants company, So
yeah. And we talked about that earlier. It just seems like it's an instinctive thing in dogs that we're going to try to get all we can when we can, and then we'll go back to eat our food too.
Right.
So, but, I mean, they're rolling around out here and different things. When that puppy, okay, you take a pup like Rhino.
Mm-hmm.
You've said a few times that you really like the way he acts. You like, things about him. But what is it about, what is he doing from your experienced eye that makes you look at that pup and say, I like what he's doing?
Well, he, first of all, I like both his parents. I like the dad to him. I like the mama to him. They're both really good catch dogs. And, bulldogs basically are a lot easier to breed than, to get certain traits than, like, say, tree hounds or bear dogs, where you've got a lot more. You've got to have, for bear dogs, cold nose, speed, grit, staying at the tree a long time. You've got several different traits you've got to have. Well, basically for bulldogs, really, you want an ear dog and you want a good-natured dog and an athletic dog, and normally when you breed those together, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So,
well, you just wrapped up the whole podcast, and we've only been recording for like 14 minutes.
Sorry about that. It's almost my bedtime.
Well, the thing of it is, but when you're looking at that pup, what do you expect? How old is Rhino?
About 4 months, maybe 4.5 months.
At 4 months old, what do you expect him? What do you like to see out of a 4-month-old pup?
Well, we work with him. We've been walking him on a leash, teaching him to heel, sit, stay.
He really likes that leash, too.
I tell you what, he sees the leash, he runs. But and I don't know why, because he loves to go for a walk.
Yeah.
But he just hates it. And I guess from the first time I tied him up, and how puppies are the first time they're tied, I guess he remembers that. But he's doing everything he's supposed to do. I don't expect him to go out and catch a hog at this age or anything like that. But like when you play tug of war with him, he's got the bite. He hangs on.
Yeah, you told me today. It's like, man, if you play, make sure your hand's back, because he's gonna
grab that rag, and and most bulldogs love that. They love to play tug of war.
Yeah. Well, as far as him wrestling with other pups, you talk about socializing. You talk about capping that, that energy there when he's wrestling with other pups and stuff like that. When do you see stuff that's like, okay, that's okay? No, I better step in here and get a handle on this.
Right. Yeah. If you see him showing any sign of aggression, yeah, you want to step in and, stop it. Get it stopped early. Let them know that's not acceptable. And, I get them used to riding with other dogs early. Mm-hmm. Like I'll put them in the side-by-side together so that they grow up, learning to ride with other dogs. And normally you don't have a problem. Once a bulldog learns his job, man, basically they just ignore the other dogs. They just can't wait till they hear the bay, to walk in and get turned loose.
Yeah. When the pups are out here, what do you consider that threshold of aggression? Because pups will get together and they'll be growling, and you'll have one pup or a bigger dog might roll a bulldog, and things like that. So where is that threshold of aggression where you look and you're like, they're playing, or they're
right? Well, when they're real young, it's like I mentioned, when Rhino and Dagger are playing. Well, he's so much bigger, he just takes a paw and knocks Rhino down, and Rhino comes up wanting to fight. Yeah. Even though he's a little puppy, it's bred in him. But Dagger still, he'll just keep knocking him down, and that puppy will get mad. And I mean, if it reaches a certain point, I'll just yell at him. They know what no means.
Yeah.
So
you get a handle on them pretty early.
Yes.
And young. And when we backstory for people that might just be tuning in, I came home from Montana last year to an adopted pit bull in my house,
Mm-hmm.
and you were the first person I called. It's like, hey, this is a small puppy. What do I need to be looking for? Because I've never raised one.
Right.
They intrigue me. I absolutely love being around the Bulldogs. I think they are warriors in the the hunting world, and they're just cool. I just like them. But I called you, and I'm like, man, what do I need to be looking for? When is too much too much? How much should a person intervene and stuff, like, intervene, and how soon should they start intervening and stuff?
Well,
Mike?
If you see them start showing aggression towards people or whatever, yeah, you've got to step in right off the bat, and you've got to put a stop to it.
What's the youngest age you've seen it?
It's normally over a year old or something like that. Mm-hmm. As they get older, some of them might be more territorial or whatever. But, most of the young pits, if they've been socialized, they love people.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like labs. They absolutely love to be around people.
I don't think people get that, though. They've been given such a bad rap on stuff.
Right. And here's the problem, too. If you got, like, say, any brindled dog of any breed running loose in the street, it's automatically labeled a pit bull. Mm-hmm. There are so many more different breeds of dogs that have bitten people, but they don't make the news because it might not be serious. But normally when a pit bull bites somebody, it's serious.
Right.
It's going to make the news.
At one time, the Golden Retriever AKC said that the Golden Retriever was the number one dog that bit people.
Well, I can testify to that because one of my good buddies was a duck guide.
Yeah.
He used a Golden Retriever. He had to get rid of the dog because it bit two of his customers. And he actually bit one of them pretty bad. The guy was getting out of the boat on the dock, and the dog was up there, and the dog bit the guy in the face.
Ooh.
And a Golden Retriever should be a very docile dog.
Right. So do you think it all boils down to the way they're raised? This is the old argument. It all comes back to the way they're raised, or is it more genetic, or is it a mixture of both?
It's a mixture of both. Some of it's definitely genetic, but I would say probably, and this is just a guess, but 75% of it is socializing them from a very young age, and then, you can even add another fraction into it. A lot of them are made to be mean. So it's
So I go say you've got a litter of puppies here, and Mike, I want a bulldog, and I come down and get it. I've never raised a bulldog before. Should I be putting that pup in the truck with me and hauling it with me? And
I do.
Yeah.
You know, it's the more they're around different people, the more sights they see. You know, a lot of times you get a dog in strange surroundings. You know, they're uneasy. You know, just like I took a dog to the vet the other day. As soon as we went in the doors, he had the brakes on.
Right.
You know, I pretty well had to, drag him in there.
That's why they put slick floors in
Yeah.
vet clinics, because dogs instinctively, when they go in a new place, they lock up, and so you can still move them on a slick floor.
And we had the Bulldogs in the house a lot, and even at a young age, they're around the cats and all that, so they get used to them. You know, and so
did the when you're taking them around people, do you take them to town? Do you take them, like when you work on a lot of different farms? Do you take your bulldog puppies with you when you go to work?
I have before, but I've got a good friend of mine, and him, Mike the Knife. He raises cows.
Yeah.
So we'll trade our dogs out, and I let him raise those bulldogs around his cows and chickens, and so they get used to them.
Part of socialization.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we don't have to worry too much about them. Some of the places we hunt dairy farms and all that. Well, you can't have any dog baying the cows, this farmer's cows, or certainly not a bulldog running in to catch a cow,
Yeah, so. Exactly. That might run out the permission pretty quick.
Right.
And don't come back ever.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So when you get this pup, what age do you start working with them on, checking to see what kind of bite they have?
I normally wait till they're about 8 months old or so, 7 months old. We've done it earlier, but we'll bring like a small shoat out and all, and let the dog see it, see how he acts, and and.
Well, let's back up a little bit further, though. I mean, are you playing tug of war and things with that puppy from a young age?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when you're playing tug of war with them, what are the things how are you getting that? Or is it natural for them? Do they just come up and they just want to play tug of war with you?
Oh yeah, it's natural. They grab it and hang on, and you'll shake the towel or rag or whatever, and that just all their instincts kick in. They're pulling back, they're locked on, and
do you let them win?
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah. We never put any puppy in a situation that's for him to lose.
Yeah, yeah. Heath Hyatt mentioned that a couple weeks ago with his police dogs. He's got a Dutch Malinois cross, and from a very young age, every fight he got into, simulated fight type thing, that dog won.
Yeah.
So now he's got all this confidence to go into this. And when I watch you with your bulldogs, you make it fun. You make sure it's not a deal where it's like, oh, I'm going to test and see what his bite is, and I'm really going to try to get it away from him. He's a baby, and
exactly.
And you're trying to teach him that this is what I need you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about the ear dog thing and the different places.
Right.
Why you like that, and what other style of dog is there?
Well, there's dogs that catch on the legs. There's dogs that catch over the bridge of the nose or the front of the nose. And, back when we had open range and all, you didn't want a dog catching on the nose, because he'd break the hog's nose and the hog was ruined. And the ideal situation is dogs have a hog bait up. You walk in with your bulldog, you get close. You turn the dog loose. Dog runs in, catches hog by the ear. You throw the hog down, get the dogs off. The dogs aren't hurt. The hog's not hurt. And you can mark it, cut it, whatever, and turn it back loose. So, if you have, back then, hogs livestock, they were worth money.
Yeah.
So if you've got a dog that's, basically cutting your hogs up enough where you had to destroy them, you're losing money.
Sure.
So, and same for leg dogs. I've seen a lot of bulldogs that were just natural leg dogs. They'd go for the leg and they'd break the leg on a hog.
Yeah.
Same scenario as a nose dog. And, so probably I'd say 90% of the hog hunters out there like a ear dog.
Mm-hmm. The one I've got is a natural leg dog. I can see it when I'm wrestling with the other dogs in the yard. He'll get wound up and he'll start biting their legs. He'll come after their legs and things like that when they're wrestling and different stuff. And I can see where, in the scenario, just if you've got a cow or if you've got a pig, a hog or whatever, and you start hamstringing them,
right?
And destroying tendon and things like that, an ear is not that big a deal in the old days.
Right.
We can live with an ear being a little bit chewed on, but if they can't walk and we got to put them down, then we got a problem.
Yes.
Yep. So all right. How do you start your hog dogs? As far as you started on it a minute ago, I kind of cut you off. I apologize. I wanted to get back to something else.
Well, we'll get like a shoat or something. We're holding it by the back legs. We've got somebody else holding the bulldog. And basically, just by how the dog acts, we can tell if he's ready or not. If he's really lunging, trying to get to him, we'll let him go ahead and catch, the hog on the ear, and then we'll get him off right away. Mm-hmm. So, and pretty much from there, when they get old enough, we take them to the woods.
How old? How old do you like your dogs to be? Or is it an individual thing? And
it is. I guess a lot of the experts will say wait till a year where their teeth's set. But I've taken them as early as 9, 10 months, But I've tried to pick their hogs for them too, And that wasn't necessarily the case on this young dog we took a week ago. We saw the hog running across the marsh, thought it was a smaller hog, 120, 150 pounds. He bayed up. We brought that young bulldog in, Dagger. He ran in, caught it on the ear. That's a 250-pound boar with 2.5-inch tusk.
Yeah.
Not the hog I would have picked for his first hog.
Exactly.
But
that was his first hog?
That was his first hog in the wild, yes.
Wow.
And, he came through with flying colors. He did what he was bred to do, and so. And
that hog was walking through water or through the mud, marsh?
He was, the water was high in the marsh, so the hog looked a lot shorter than what it was, but yeah, we were really surprised. And then a little while later, we did bay up about 150-pound boar, and he caught him, same thing on the ear, no problem.
Yeah.
So
and you just find that they just naturally go for that? It's just genetic.
It's genetic. I've had dogs that have never caught anywhere but on the ear. And that's like that female honey I've got out there. Mm-hmm. She's been a straight-eared dog, since I've had her.
That is just so amazing to me that they know that it's genetically wired into them that there's an ear. I'm going to catch it by the ear. Is it because it's sitting there flopping, or
that might have a lot to do with it?
That is crazy. Because when you think about like our plots and things like that, they don't care where they're going to catch.
Well, some do. I've seen plots that were kind of natural ear dogs, and I've seen plots that always work the back end. Like on a bear, you'd prefer them to work the back end.
No kidding.
Than the front end. But it's, yeah. And it seems like most of the plots I've got out there now are, ear dogs. They work the head.
Do you think the courage has anything to do with that, because they don't want to be on the business end? I mean, they're not dumb, whether bulldog or plot, either one.
Well, it normally takes a gritty dog like a plot, for instance, to engage in a hog, to make contact. There's a lot of dogs that are good bay dogs, but they'll never put their tooth on a hog. They'll just stand back and bay.
Yeah, I haven't seen those here.
Well, you never know.
Even the two that I got from you and brought back here to hog hunt last year, I was amazed with the way that they just naturally caught hogs. I mean, if it was stopped, they were piling on it.
Yeah.
And all right, so what are we missing? What other things are key to? Guys listen to this. He's like, man, I need to get a bulldog, and I know plenty of people that younger guys come into this and didn't grow up, but they want a bulldog. What do you tell them to look for?
Basically just get one out of hunting lines. Your hard hunters have good dogs. That's why they've got good dogs.
That's right.
I mean, if they were to ask me, I'd tell them make sure they're obedience trained. You've seen the time I put into my dogs, and it's just like that Dagger dog. He's going to be a big dog, and I've got him loading up, maybe too good. He'll jump into anything now.
Right.
But he'll jump to the top of the side-by-side, no problem, on top of the dog box. He'll jump in my boat with the trailer on, and it's all from starting him early, teaching him to load up.
Yeah. So have you got any horror stories about adopted dogs and, like, let's go to the pound, we need a bulldog? And
I've had, not horror stories, but I've had friends that have gone to the pound and adopted bulldogs. Some of them worked out, some of them haven't. It's pretty natural for most bulldogs to want to catch. Mm-hmm. You just got to find out where they're going to catch, and just see if they'll work for you.
One of the things that I picked up on real quick, and I think it happened the first time I came down here and hunted with you. We had a bulldog. What'd he do?
Yeah, I remember that.
He ran in there and he caught, but then
he went in there and bayed.
Yeah.
I had picked that bulldog up the day before, and I got the dog on trial. Guy told me he was a good catch dog, so you do have to be careful out there.
Yeah.
Well, we went out, the plots bait up, a big sow, probably 250-pound sow. They had her backed up in a pipe or something.
Yeah, there was a bunch of some kind of structure out there.
Yeah. We turned this bulldog loose. He ran right in there like he knew what he was doing, stopped and started baying just as good as those plot dogs were. Well, we chased the sow out of the pipe, and the plots caught her.
Right.
And I took the bulldog back that day.
Yeah. You talk about a confidence booster. Two guys coming down from Indiana. I brought Jake with me, and we're all coming in there to this hog bay. And, we get down here, and it's like one of the first things you said, hey, we need to go pick up a bulldog.
Yeah.
We all jumped in the truck, and we drove somewhere, and you'd never seen this dog before. But I figured out real quick how important that bulldog is to a hunt. Do you think your plots are good enough to operate without a bulldog?
Well, I've had a couple of plots in the past that I could use for a straight catch dog.
Really?
Yeah, let the other dogs bay up, and when you sent them in, they were going to catch,
Is there a difference in them? I mean, as far as I don't even know how to word that, really. I mean, they were just straight catch dogs.
They were straight catch, One of them didn't live very long.
That was kind of where I was going.
But here's the problem, and I have a lot of people that say, I want to shoot a hog. Well, first of all, most of the time you're in a thicket. Hogs like to bay up in thick, cut over, or roseau cane. And I never wanted to take a chance on somebody seeing a black dog shoot out and them shoot it by mistake for a hog.
Right.
And I've told them, I said, look, in thick cover, that bulldog's way more accurate than any gun you've got.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to run right in and catch the hog, and then we'll let you stick the hog, or, but we're going to catch the hog first.
Yeah. And that was that was my first time ever hog hunting, and to watch you go in there and plots caught, flip the hog, the whole 9 yards, I was like, wow, This is amazing, you know. What size dog do you like?
I like a bigger dog, anywhere even 70 to 90 pounds, you know, but probably in the 70 to 80 pound range is what I favor the most. They're just at that right weight where they're still really, really athletic, and a lot of them are pretty fast for big dogs. So one of the fastest bulldog I ever had was probably a 75-pound dog.
Yeah.
And sometimes if the hog would break in a cutover, he could run them down and catch them, normally within 200 yards. He was that fast. He could run with the plots if the hog broke.
Yeah.
But he'd be ahead of the plots, you know. I mean, he was fast. So it's but on the bad side, that's what got him killed. You know, you can't have a bulldog running loose. I mean, people do run with run and catch dogs, but they ended up catching this big boar. They were half a mile in by the time we got there. I mean, the dog was so cut up, and he didn't even make it to the vet, you know. So
yeah,
you know, that will get a dog killed. And you know, and you've seen this, the plots catch the majority of the hogs out there. You know, if we hear them baying, we know it's a big hog.
Right.
And that's when you want the bulldog. So the heavy hitter.
That's right. So that's my thing, you know. That's what I was talking about. You know, you get those plots. A lot of times they'll catch, but they're not going to catch them all. And to watch that bulldog go in there, I mean, no fear, no hesitation, and hit those hogs that's got to earn respect in its own right, you know, that he does that job like that.
Yeah, and we've had a cross of bulldogs down here. I've got a good buddy of mine in Florida, and he's got the dagger bloodline of weight pulling pit bulls.
Yeah.
And I've had really good luck taking my females down there to breed to his dogs, and they just make really good, calm, excellent catch dogs. So
because they're a little lower geared, you know, they're not quite as hot.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah. You know, so I mean, you've got to have a dog with enough grit to, you know, they're laying their life on the line.
Yeah.
I've always kind of attributed them to the Indians, you know, right before they'd go into battle, they'd pray and say, "Oh, this is a good day to die."
Right.
Well, to me, that's what the bulldogs are doing.
Man, they do, and they do it without any hesitation, and they do it with gusto. And I just think it's a whole part of our American culture, and definitely this part of Louisiana culture is very, very much involves the bulldog.
Well, you know, all the states in the South, you know, that always ran livestock and all, I mean, they all use bulldogs. You know, they had a bad bull or something, they'd use bulldogs or cur dogs crossed with, you know, bulldog or something like that if they really had a bad one to catch. So they've been around the South forever.
What's the best? What's your favorite dog you've ever had? How many? First of all, how many do you think you've had over the years?
I don't know. Let me see. I had Brownie, Billy, Red, Hammer, Hooch, Catch. I've probably had about 12, maybe 15 over 40 years.
Yeah. And which one's your favorite one?
My favorite was that red bulldog I had, the real fast one. Mm-hmm. And, you know, just because he could run any hog down. We were actually out in a pasture. They had a hog coming eating with the cows. And we eased him up over the hill where he could see that. It was about a 200-pound boar. And, I mean, the closest wood line was like 300 yards away. Well, he had to run about 120 yards to get, and a lot of people don't think a hog is fast, but, man, they can sprint.
Yeah.
You know, they can hit probably 30 miles an hour easy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when the bulldog, as soon as I knew he saw the hog, we turned him loose. Well, that hog saw him coming when he was about halfway there and took off, and it was a race to the tree line. But that bulldog ran him down and caught him. And so that's that was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
You know, I just lost a good young dog here 2 years ago that, I mean, I really love the dog. That dog was so good-natured. All he wanted to do was play, you know, even when he was older. But we got in a situation we couldn't get to him. He was down a 20-foot bluff, had the hog caught.
I remember when that happened.
And we had to go way around to find a way down. And by the time we got back to him, he still had the hog, but there was enough damage done. He had to be put down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You like males or females?
You know, I prefer males just for the simple reason they don't come in heat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but some of my female dogs are just as good as any male dog I've ever had.
Yeah.
So
as we were walking around I've walked around the dog lot here the last couple of days. You know, you've pointed to one female, and you said she's the grittiest dog on the place. Talking about your plots.
Yeah, Trumpet. Yeah, she's just like a bulldog. You know, so
yeah.
Yeah, I can only turn her out by herself because she's got one other dog with her she's going to catch. You know, and that's a big hog.
Now say that again. So you do what?
Well, if I hunt Trumpet, I hunt her by herself. You know, she'll bay a big hog in a thicket by herself.
Yeah.
But if she's got just one other dog, she's going to catch it. You know, and she's been cut up a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And she's not a big dog.
No, you know, in running shape, she's about a 40-pound dog. You know,
exactly.
So
the only reason I brought Trumpet up was because, you know, I think we are still these females can get it done.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I've never hunted with Honey, but you said she's
good. Yeah, we'll take her tomorrow. You'll be impressed.
Yep, I can't wait. Can't wait to watch her go. We didn't hunt her last year.
What dog were we hunting? I took
Deacon.
her. Okay, yeah, Deacon. Yeah.
Took Deacon, and then she was in the kennel, and we never did take her last year.
Right.
I don't remember if she was in heat or I forget what you told me.
Well, Deacon was young and he needed the work.
Yeah.
So we were taking him.
Yeah. Well, what we miss, Mike, about pit bulls, about bulldogs?
I don't really know. You know, I mean, people use them for different reasons. Mostly for pets, I'd say nowadays. But you know, just about all your hog hunters, you know, they'll use pit bulls. Some of them use dogos, but some form of, you know, bully breed for a catch dog.
Yeah. Yeah, have you ever messed with any bull terriers or anything like that?
No, I never had any experience with them.
Yeah. You know, as far as my observation with these dogs is they're extremely intelligent dogs. They're a terrier, and they're extremely powerful, but they're also extremely intelligent. You know, the one that we've got. I was telling you earlier, you know, we didn't have to housebreak him. He was really easy to train, really eager to please, and they're not the boogeyman that you see on the news, you hear about on the news.
Right. Most of them have so much play in them. I mean, they just want to play and.
You know, I've noticed that about a lot of working dogs. If you don't give them a job.
Right.
They're going to find a job, and it's probably not going to be a job you like, you know. And an example of that is we had a border collie. My wife had a border collie, and I said, "Man, that dog needs to be on the farm, you know, our mom and dad's farm where he can work." And she wanted to keep him at the house, and we weren't living on the farm at that time. And he just got bored inside that fenced-in yard and started eating the siding off the house. And you know, so a working dog's got to have a job, and these dogs definitely need jobs.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
But I mean, they make good yard dogs. They're not as high energy as border collies.
No.
or bird dogs or something like that. But yeah, they will find something to get into though. They just love to play.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you what, we got an early morning, and seems like we always do these in the evenings.
Yeah.
At least we didn't do it after we hunted this time. We were both ready to fall asleep.
Yeah.
But, all right, Mike. Well, we'll go see if we can catch a hog tomorrow. And that will do it for this episode of the Houndsman XP podcast. Make sure you're liking this podcast over on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Facebook at Houndsman XP Podcast Group or the Houndsman XP Podcast, either site. Check us out on Instagram, Houndsman_XP_podcast. Make sure you check out Dogs Are Treed. They've got the highest quality gear in the industry. Use our promo code HXP, 20% off at checkout for the highest quality leashes, tie-outs, paws are protected, and dogs are hydrated. DogsAreTreed.com. Also, check out Rough Cut Company. Rough Cut Company is taking high-quality digital images, uploaded directly to their website, then laser engraving that onto native hardwoods. Great stuff, beautiful pieces, and you'll be amazed at the detail that you get back on your memory that you will be proud to display in your home. They make great gifts. Check out Rough Cut Company at roughcutcompany.com, and at checkout, enter the promo code HXP 10% off for 10% off of your order. Also, join us over on Patreon, and we'll give you deep discounts on these and other great brands. Till next time, folks, you follow your hounds, and I'll follow mine.